Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon'
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. 992. No, not for real. We have Ryan McGinty sitting in for Mike Washington. As Mike Washington is still on assignment, he's literally across the world. I hope he brings me back some special gifts. We'll leave it at that. Welcome to episode. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to episode 190 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host today. We have Ryan McGinty and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studio and sending a signal live. KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that, I'm going not to be a curmudgeon, so I'm going to let our guest and ask Ryan McGinty, how you doing?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Man.
How you say, Ryan?
Long time no see. 6 days.
Yeah, man. Very good at home. It's good to have you back, man.
Yeah.
Don't act up, because we will drop that. I will take that mic.
Yeah, I'm just looking at y'all backdrop with the strobe lights in the back. Well, times are changing. How many years it's been? 190 episodes, and how many years? I lost track. But
yeah, it goes back a while now. We just celebrated a couple of anniversaries. In fact, the last time you on was our 100th episode anniversary. So look how fast we're moving forward. So it's good to have you back to get your expertise. As you can break down as we get into it, we'll get into that Texas Southern game. So we'll get to really get some insight that other folks may not share and have the information on. And then we'll let you talk about some other off topics as well. With that, Charles Bishop, how you doing?
Doing phenomenal, Doc. I tell you what, I'm getting texts of people gassing up the RVs. I got people already taking pictures at restaurants in Huntsville. Looks like Tiger Nation will show up and show out in Huntsville, Alabama this weekend. So it's already started.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they ain't out. Some of them, I'm surprised they ain't already there. Oh, I'll take that back. They are.
RVs getting gassed up.
We'll get in that. And in fact, we'll let Ryan tease out in the second half of the show. We'll let him maybe give us some thoughts on the Alabama A&M Jackson State. We'll come back to you and maybe give you a chance to give us some deeper thoughts. I know you broke down some things on Tuesday, but we can go in a little deeper because it is the game of the week. I mean, you have the number one team on the road against the number 3 team at home for homecoming. At least that's according to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Poll. That's a big deal. I don't care what level, what sport. You got top 3 teams facing off. You can't ask for more than that. What do you think about that, Charles?
Oh, yeah, looking forward to it. Like you said, you have Jackson State ranked number 1 and Alabama A&M number 3. When you have those sorts of matchups, you're talking about the number 1 offense in the SWAC, number 1 defense in the SWAC, homecoming audience, a fan base that travels. It should be a fun-filled weekend.
Brian, as I ask you the same type of question, I'm going to sneak in this a little bit. Pinch, dash, done. This is a cookbook, Prairie View A&M alumni getting it in there, a gateway to favorite recipes. There has a forward in here by Dr. Ruth J. Simmons, president of Prairie View A&M University. As you get done, it's done by Renita Harris and Beatrice Moore. They came together and put together. I told him I want to know about some tailgates. So I'm going to save this until Mike gets back. We might even see if we can get him on the mic a little bit and explain about those tailgates. Ryan, you remember those tailgate shows when we talk about the best tailgate?
Yep, with the
remember that?
The jalapeno bacon wrap poppers with caviar. one of those Mike
You remember too well.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just his favorite thing to do. Yeah, you know it. You know it. He tried to slide some stuff in there. He certainly will critique it when we get a chance of that. But talking about the tailgates, you know, I told you about the top 3 teams on the field, but off the field, I know you get into the band, and we're going to have my top poll band back this Thursday as we put it on to Sunday last week, but we'll give you that ranking and see what everybody thinks. We'll do that in the second quarter of the show, if you would. But in terms of the battle of the bands, off field, in terms of the tailgate, as we said, what are your thoughts on that matchup, top 3 matchup in Huntsville, Alabama?
Well, it's funny. It's like the media is trying to hype something up. As you saw, they try to bait Maynard. They try to bait Coach Prime this week. And now you look at it, the last thing that was said the other day, Maynard said, I didn't say nothing about the man or whatever. I don't want to get too involved in it, but it was funny. They're trying to extract something out of it. Coach Prime didn't take the bait. But I think it's just just a matter of A&M didn't lose last weekend. Was you know, the atmosphere. But you got the A&M tailgating scene. Then you got what's going on in Huntsville with Jackson trying to invite the whole city of Jackson to the game. Then you saw some band posts saying Jackson say A&M folks kept asking, are they going to come to Huntsville? And A&M responded back, please do. And we looking forward, and they're going back and forth. So I think it's a good atmosphere. I'm looking forward to it. I think they need to have a trophy for the game. It should be the winner takes a scooter. We'll solve it at that, since that's where it all started. It all started about an Aflac scooter, if I'm not mistaken. So the winner takes a scooter. Get a free classic out of it. But it's going to be an interesting game. And I've been to a few A&M homecomings before, working at the Grambling and at the Prairie View. So it's a great atmosphere, and I'm looking forward to it because that's going to really shape that SWAC East early. It's early, but it's going to really shape it early. And because, with just both teams are, projected to be at the top.
Yeah, you're right. It has a chance to tighten things up in some ways, or it has some things to really start to separate some teams slightly. So it'll be interesting to see which way it goes. With that being said, let me go back to you, Charles. What is some news of the day from your perspective?
Let's check on some news of the day here. Like we talked about, we got a good slate of games coming up this weekend. When you start, talking about Jackson State and Alabama A&M, but just some really good matchups around the SWAC this upcoming week. Some that I took notice of, especially within the SWAC. You got South Carolina State going to Florida A&M. That should be a great one. Texas Southern and Southern up there in Arlington, up there at Global Life Park. So that should be another good one. One that you talked about last week, Dr. Cavil, Mississippi Valley and North Carolina Central Valley coming off that win. They go to Bethune-Cookman this weekend. So you got just a great slate of games on tap for the weekend. It should make for a great weekend of either sitting in front of your TV or actually getting out there and enjoying a little bit of vitamin D and catching your favorite team.
Great point to make. And that game in Daytona is Bethune-Cookman's homecoming. So that should make it even that much more exciting. Talking about homecoming, you have Grambling going to Alcorn for homecoming. And they don't have many games at home this year. So it'll be interesting. And that's always seems to be a classic matchup. Grambling coming off a big win. Yeah. Yep. Alcorn has the bye week. So we'll see how that goes. Ryan, any news from your perspective? Anything you want to share coming out?
Well, before I switch over to another sport, I got no debate with someone about, ironically, we'll discuss TSU Southern later, but the Valley Bethune game. And someone had me laughing. I said, well, you know, it's funny. Central traveled to Valley. I don't know if they took a bus or a plane, but
they flew into Jack.
They did fly in. Okay,
and
good.
They go down
and so they still had a 2.5 hour. But I tell people, Valley has Central on their campus. That was, and now that was probably a shock, even though Trey Oliver, the Central coach, was at Grambling and at Southern before. So we've been to Valley, but you know, having them on the campus is different playing in the Delta. And but the Valley Bethune game, and I got the Bethune schedule pulled up right now. They actually played each other in Daytona in 2018. And that was a closer game than people thought. It was 41-27 Bethune. So that's gonna be one of an interesting game. Valley is coming off of a big win, and I had one of our grad students mention, they say Coach Dancy was a whole different person on a conference call this week. So you got a confident Dancy. Bethune, you know, Bethune is looking for that win. They need it bad. So it's going to be another interesting SWAC East matchup. And right now, like the East is, in terms of storyline, is almost is taking over what people thought the West was going to have at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shapes up.
Great points again that you make there. And this is midterm week, midterm examination week for the HBCU Sports Lab. So I got the scores in from Tuesday. Looking so far so good. We'll see what you do on your scores today. And then the big scoring day will be Friday for the MEAC tomorrow, Saturday for all those big games. And then we'll pass around midterm grades. Midterm grades on the show on Sunday. So we'll see from this first half of the season, week 5, we're halfway through it. It's hard to believe already. And we're just now getting into conference play. So it's about to get interesting. As you alluded to, this October can really be intriguing about separating Saturday or separation October for a lot of teams in their respective conferences. So let's get into it. Let me shout out, before we go to the end of this break, shout out Alan Bozeman, Carl Edmond, Kay Johnson is in class 190. She's ready for her midterm exam. I know it. Good evening, Lab Fanatics. There you go. Michael Ford, lecture time. He's ready to go. Sitting down with his pen and pencil. He's ready to get it in. I see Ricky Burton says, we in the lab, baby. Yes, we are. Good evening. Getting it. Stan Hardy's in here. Karen Griffin, Carl Edmond. Jibu Harley is always in the house. Yeah, he said, who is that guy? I think he's talking about his frat brother over there. You know, the Sigmas are controlling the house right now. It's dangerous, Charles. It's dangerous. We got to change this dynamic. We can't let this happen too often. Troy Lamont Coleman, Noel Price. Who else we got? Chuck Hunt is always in the building. Demetria Glenn, Michael Lee. Appreciate you, Michael Lee, joining us. Joseph Anthony Goodwin, John Richardson, Willie Alex Hine. We'll shout out some more as we get back, but I do want to shout out one more that I thought was interesting. MEAC launching live online pregame football show. I know when you were part of the MEAC office a while back, Ryan, they started moving forward to buy a lot of their internal camera options. So some of this can be attributed to at least some of the production work that you got in there, and they taking it to the next level. We've seen this with Tyler Carr doing SIAC updates. I know the SWAC has thought about this, and they're updating their camera room and stuff like this. So I really appreciated this going in a different direction. This is interesting. Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference will make history on Saturday, October 16th, when it airs the only on-site conference-produced football preview show in FCS, televised live on ESPN+, a 60-minute show tabbed MEAC Countdown to Kickoff presented by Coca-Cola. The pregame show will be broadcast from the campus of the MEAC institution. Prior to the featured game of the week, the hour-long format will feature information on history of the participating institutions, current event updates from around the conference, interviews with coaches, student-athlete, director of athletics, presidents, chancellors, alumni, and news analysis about the day's featured game. Credit to them, but it does remind me of what Roy has put together in terms of game time show as we go through it. Although we cover all HBCUs, this is conference specific, so I do understand that. Hall of Fame, MEAC Hall of Famer Charlie Neal will be teamed up with former Howard University women's tennis student athlete, current sportscaster Nicole Hutchinson to host MEAC Countdown to Kickoff. Called the voice of HBCU Sports, Neal has been calling HBCU sporting events for more than 50 years. I noticed I saw him doing a little more of the MEAC interviews weekly, So I thought something was up, but it's good to see. That's great information. But that'll do it for our first quarter. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Ryan McGinty and Charles Bishop. We'll be right back after this quick break. Stick with us. We got the marching sport coming up next.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want to tab, I'ma do the dab, yeah.
It's never too
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Get into the second quarter, Ryan. You might enjoy this a little bit. We decided this year to come up with our own poll, HBCU marching sport poll. The thing that is unique about our poll, you know, oftentimes over the year, you've seen these HBCU blogs, great blogs as they do it, providing information. But then you also have the fact that you had these poll rankings where people get to vote. So it's like a popularity contest. You know about HBCU bands. It's not about the popularity contest. This is a sport. When you go into a game, there got to be a winner and a loser. When two HBCU bands march out, all this, who got the biggest fan base on an internet trolling site? Now, we're not fit that. So what we did, week to week, we take HBCU matchups and we rank them, top 10. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the bottom 10, but we'll get into the top 5. And afterwards, I let Charles and Mike in so you get to provide your thoughts on my top 10 ranking. And it's based on wins and losses. This is not a popularity contest. All y'all folks that can strike a little button and talk about, yeah, this is my team, and you cheat and put 2 or 3 strikes in it. No, you can't do this here. Yeah, we're going to list the tonation, what you did in the 0 quarter, the 5th quarter, halftime, your choreography, your sound. Yeah, we're looking at all that. And at the end, there is a winner and a loser. Somebody gonna get that L, somebody gonna get that West Side W.
Well, hold on.
With that being said, no teams dropped out this week.
Cavil, quick question.
What'd you say?
If I got to the, what if I got the traffic held me up and get into the game, so I couldn't do a 0 quarter, and then the director want to go eat early, so we don't do a 5th quarter. That's a default L.
Yeah, that's pretty much a loss. Yeah, that's a L. I can help you out with that. You do all that, you probably would not even get on the halftime show. I don't know what that's about. That ain't no HBCU watching sport. That sounds like somebody got probably with financial aid or something. I'm
just saying.
You talking about an F squared on my midterm examination, right? I'm playing with them. Man, they don't know I'm the dean. I'm the dean of HBCU sports. I will flunk you with the F squared. You know what F squared is? And I tell these folks, F times F. You know what that would do to your transcript? You can forget it.
Oh boy.
And people laughing because I really say that in the introduction of my class to make sure everybody level set it. The first part I do say that every time. Charles testified to that.
Yes, indeed.
With receiving votes, North Carolina A&T, blue and gold marching band. That's the other thing. North Carolina A&T, they got a great band, but they didn't went over there. And they don't play in the HBCUs. How you gonna have a marching sport contest? You don't have no HBCUs on your schedule.
If nobody around to see the tree fall in the woods, did it make a sound? I don't know.
I don't know. Hey, but hey, they trying to do it on the athletic side, so they just screwed up the marching band. And number 10, let's get into this. Edward Waters marching band 1-1 on the season. They were not ranked, so they jumped into the poll this week. Number 9, you had North Carolina Central Sound Machine marching band. They did not go to Valley, but they still hold the place at 9. 1-1 on the season. Number 8, Miles College, the Purple Marching Machine, 2-0. 1-0 in the conference race. Got a big win conference-wise the other day, 23 points. They do fall one spot as teams above them keep making moves. You had Kentucky State that had marching thoroughbred band 2-0. They had that big upset win when they visited Tennessee State. And although they were smaller, they had a better performance overall, shocking a lot of folks. They did fall this week because other teams were in battle matches that took over them. So they do fall 2 spots from being 5th last week. At number 6, Norfolk State Spartan Legion Marching Band, 2-1 on the season, got a big non-conference win against Hampton at their house. They went to the house of Hampton and showed out, Tide Water, all that. The Legion did that thing, and wow. 2-1 on the season. They continue to surprise the world. One of those that are not familiar in that area. I know you've seen them quite a bit, Ryan, so you talk a little bit about that in terms of not for 60. So let's get in the top 5 where it really gets good in terms of the business of the day. Let's get in this top 5 matchup. Excuse me there. Let's see what we got. Bring it up. At number 5, Bethune-Cookman Marching Wildcats. They went up to South Carolina. They lost the football game, but they took care of business at halftime, before the game and after the game. And so they come out 2-0. They move up 1 spot with the big win, 67 points. You have Prairie A&M, the Marching Storm, 2-0. They had that big win in the State Fair Classic against Grambling, holding it down. Doing the Storm, it's spelling out Storm on the field. Between one of the things surprising a lot of folks, got a lot of prompted circumstances in the stand for that. 1 first place vote. Somebody thinks they should be at the top. They stay at number 4 as they move around from last week when they made that huge leap. At number 3, Jackson State, the Sonic Boom of the South, 2-1, 0-1, 2 first place votes, 78 points. Remain at number 3. They have a big matchup. They on the road. Can they handle going in and facing Alabama A&M for homecoming? So this should be interesting to see that matchup. A lot of stakes going on in Huntsville. You got the football game, you got homecoming, you got television, you got the battle of the bands. And as you know, they now show this on ESPN. We tried to tell them about that, but they gave that away too. At number 2, Southern, the Human Jukebox, 3-0, 1-0, 1 first place vote, 8-2. They can to just make it easy. They hadn't got into some of their true matchups yet. They had the matchup against Valley and Jackson. took care of business there. The number one, Florida A&M, the marching 100, 3-0. They have just been traveling. They took it to Alabama State. It was close. It was close. They got some votes. They got house. Alabama State got a lot of house on the road.
They got a lot of house on the road. They
made it close. They represented. That was one of those last second wins. If you were having a sports analogy, that was like a 3-point at the buzzer, or just sneaking into the end zone, field goal at the buzzer. They just get it done.
All I'm saying, Doc.
I mean, I'm gonna turn it over to you. You can talk about the difference.
All I'm saying is,
so tell us what you think.
When you house the opposing crowd, hey, I got to give you the W on that. And the Honeybees brought that thing on home. So I'm just saying, from that standpoint, hey, you know, Bama State might have got drug on the field, but halftime they show improved.
All right, so I think you think FAMU should drop. So who do you got number one?
Oh, I think you can easily put the jukebox at number one this week. I mean, very impressive performance against Mississippi Valley, dominant performance. But, you know, it's just a jukebox. That's going to happen week in, week out. You got to give them their props. They are who they are. But definitely.
You did give them the props, and I know that was part for you. How far do you drop FAMU, and where do you place Alabama State in the top 10?
I got to have Alabama State somewhere in that probably top 5 or 6. Yeah, I thought that was a strong performance on the road.
Oh, it was a strong performance. You'll never give me that. They could have jumped in the top 10 for that performance, even though, according to my ranking, it was a loss. So how far do you drop FAMU?
I have FAMU sitting around 3, something to that effect.
Okay, they didn't drop too far. That's not too bad.
No,
Ryan,
still a good team.
But y'all don't know, Ryan was in the band for a short period of time. And then he decided to go and get his grades.
Whose band were you in, Ryan?
The number 2 ranked band on this list, Southern.
Okay.
And so so I was laughing. I actually saw
he came to Prairie View. They wouldn't let him in the band. I don't know if good band, but they wouldn't let him.
Hey, I transferred the year.
Long story. Huh?
The year of the band fight, and I guess that was someone upstairs telling me I'm glad you didn't need to be in that. But I saw the Southern Valley contest, the 5th quarter, the 0 quarter, and the 5th quarter. We won't even discuss that. But the game of the week this week, Southern against Texas Southern. TSU hasn't, the way the schedule fell, you after Prairie View, you basically kind of fell off the map because they had to play Rice, Baylor, and Homecoming. There was no other opposing band.
Right.
But the former assistant at Southern, Brian Simmons, at Texas Southern, going up against the guy he worked under, Taylor, at Southern. And I've been hearing drums all week, early in the afternoon for this. So, I think.
Oh, that's a great call.
Yeah.
That's a great call, Ryan.
They should be able to sneak in.
Way to tease that up.
Yeah, the mentor and the mentee. When that happens, that's gonna be an interesting battle. Unfortunately, it's in Arlington, the meaning it's not gonna be in mainstream HBCU land everyone can see, but there'll be enough videos by 7:35. They'll have that broken down easily, and they'll affect your rankings next week. Mark my words.
I like it. Great points made by both you all, breaking down the poll ranking. But what everybody should get from this, you got to understand that this is about wins and losses. Let me know what you think of the poll ranking in terms of HBCU marching sport. Ryan and Charles certainly let you know in terms of what they thoughts on. Do you agree with the number one, or you like Charles, Ryan, in terms of Alabama State taking care of business of FAMU? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm like this. If you can go get house, especially in certain places we know where it's hard to get it. Yeah, that has to happen. I'm not saying that should knock FAM from 1. I'm not gonna, because I don't know what it took for y'all to put FAM in 1. But Bama State, if they got a house at FAM and the internet kind of likes Alabama State compared to the spring, you got to put them in there somewhere. I mean, above some of these.
I got it. That makes some sense. It makes some sense. I'm just a guess. We'll have to go look at the algorithm. Y'all got me going on this one. I have to agree. It's halftime, so maybe we can figure it out if we Dr. Mill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We have Ryan McGinty sitting in for Mike Washington. We'll see what Mike Washington says in a couple of weeks. You know, he's looking at these films and feeding it, so he's going to talk Noah one way or the other. We'll see what he says. I might be outvoted and have to change the poll for the end of the night. With that being said, this is Dr. Mill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Stick with us. We'll be right back with the second half of the show.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. On Facebook at the Carlos Brown Show and Black College Sports Network. Online at www.mybcsn.net and on the BCSN app available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. This is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Ryan McGinty and Charles Bishop. Coming back in the third quarter. Shout out to Stephen Gates. I had to pin this one. He got me cracking up. Southern is no North American University. Oh, wow. Then we just dropped the mic on that one. That wasn't right. That wasn't right, Stephen Gates. With that being said, let's go to our HBCU independent non-conference mid-major division game of the week. Yeah, this one's off the radar, but we're going to give some love. Bluefield State hasn't had football in a while. They've won 2 straight games. They at home after they took a week off and they got a win, no contest essentially. But now they have Fort Lauderdale Eagles, a historically white college that is 0-3 at Bluefield State, 2-1. Can they continue to do what they do? Can they continue this magical season after coming back all this time? It's fascinating. Let me go with you first. Ryan, what are your thoughts in terms of Bluefield Fort Lauderdale Eagles?
Well, I'm laughing, but I went through the same thing last week. Everyone was wondering Fort Lauderdale. But hey, you know, but hey, we got experience. But you know, I tell people though, Bluefield brought football back. You go back, Cavil, you remember 2003, it was a team called Texas College shocked a homecoming of a place where we both attended school at. And a lot of times these club teams are dangerous. So I don't joke and laugh, you know, when I think about it, because some of these teams can find a way to get good real quick. So I'm not surprised Bluefield's doing well, you know, and there's a lot of dynamics. And, you know, then they beat Johnson C. Smith. An established program, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you know, I wouldn't, unless you understand the process how these clubs work, you shouldn't be surprised that they can jump out on you real quick. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, I think we tend to laugh, but a lot of times some of these club teams are well stacked because they can do some things we can't do within their parameters. You know.
Okay, that's an interesting dynamic, Ryan. I've never known that. in terms of what these club teams can do.
Yeah, who they answer to. It's like answering, I'm answering to NCAA and I'm answering to, what I mean? Let's just say to you, you're your own body and I got this governing set of rules I have to answer to. So you can build your roster a little different. It evens out now because we did see how Texas College kind of evened out when NAIA rules kicked in. But club teams can, if it's done right, I'm not surprised they can have quick success. That's just the nature of the game.
Stephen Gates is on the road. He said Johnson C. Smith started HBCU football and still hasn't figured it out. With that, let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts on the Bluefield? I'm not playing with Stephen Gates. He's gonna take over the show. I'm not playing with him though.
Yeah, Bluefield is making some noise, and it's a big game anytime Stephen Gaither and HBCU game day is showing up on campus. So let's go with Bluefield on this. Let's see what the Bluefield does this weekend. And that's an interesting point you bring out about the club dynamic there, Ryan. So that makes me take a little more.
Yeah, Ryan's always gonna find a way to educate you. He's been in this. Yeah, great point. Let's get into the mid-major classic game of the week. This is one that we're a little more familiar with, but it's changed location. It's now in Birmingham, Alabama. Legion Field, Morehouse Tuskegee Classic as it's transitioned from its previous home this Saturday, 7 o'clock evening game. Morehouse Maroon Tigers, who are 0-5, 0-2 in the conference race, struggling mightily. Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 2-3, 1-1. Always an interesting matchup. Tuskegee is trying to stay in the race and find a way to stick around. They've struggled a little bit, but they played a little better of late. Charles, sticking with you, what are your thoughts on this Morehouse Tuskegee Classic now in Birmingham, Alabama, in Legion Field?
The Maroon Tigers will be chasing around one of the most dangerous players in the SIAC all day in Avante Patterson. He leads the SIAC in rushing, is in the top 5 in all-purpose yards. He is a dangerous threat anytime the ball is in his hands. I look for Tuskegee to win this handily.
Oh, he said handily. Ryan McGinty, what are your thoughts on the SIAC?
Well, first of all, I like it that it's at 7 o'clock at night. I like something about a night game. Then it's at Legion Field. But Tuskegee, based on what I've seen against Alabama A&M, and Morehouse is 0-5, and I know probably they'll have depth problems, and Tuskegee probably won't. Yeah, I got to go with Charles, Tuskegee.
Man, they got these folks reminiscing when Johnson Swift was good back in the day. That is funny as well. You got Fred Witt pulling out his HBCU football history book trying to tell him how Johnson Swift was good. I like, let's leave it alone. Let's leave it alone. Let's stop. Let's not do it. With that, let's go ahead and take this early quick break, and we'll get back and break down some of the major division games and give you a little more talk about the action that a lot of people are interested in as we give some love. Before we do that, I did want to shout out that mid-major game of the week. It's going to be interesting. You got 2 big ones in the CIAA this week. First, you have the Shaw at Fayetteville State. In a lot of ways, as west of the rest of the CIAA Southern Division is struggling and has losing records. That Shaw Fayetteville State is pretty much going to declare who wins that Southern Division. It's all odd to say that the first week in October, you can have a Southern Division de facto champion, if you would. I asked you, Charles, about this Tuesday, so we won't go over that. But Ryan, what are your thoughts in terms of the Shaw-Fayetteville State matchup, at least in terms of that being such an early contest about the 2 teams that are strong in the division?
Well, as funny as it sounds, you kind of almost got the same thing here. Well, not here in Huntsville. Same situation. 2 teams picked early. So I think my deal is whoever takes the bull by the horns now. But see, here's the thing. Y'all crowning is a big thing. Can the winner sustain it? Since basically y'all say this is de facto championship on October 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Who can hold the pressure of being the de facto champion up until mid-November when it's time for the championship game? But like you said, kind of the way the standings shake out early, I don't know. I kind of like Fayetteville. I'm gonna go with them for some reason. Because they on a roll. Because basketball, they were picked to win basketball also. And they still know what's thunder. But Fayetteville is now that it school. For some reason, I'm gonna go with Fayetteville.
I like it. Interesting. The other game is in the Northern Division, and this pairs up a team that is quietly gotten done. They play in CIAA now just for football only, which is Shawan. They're going up in the Northern Division against the Beast of the Northern Division. You won't say the Beast of the East, but they're actually in the Northern Division, which is Bowie State, as they continue to do what they do. Top 25 team, top 2 teams. Some polls, some people have number 1. But in terms of that matchup, if you would, this is also an early indication. Shawan turned the corner. They just drubbed Winston-Salem State, made their football program, made some changes in terms of how they just drubbed them, putting up 70 points. I know this is a different team. What are your thoughts in terms of the Bowie State-Shawan matchup? Could it come down to that you have your first non-HBCU win the CIAA in football?
Ooh. Now, this is an interesting matchup.
Everybody, you ain't supposed to get quiet on that, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting here like trying to really dissect this. I mean, you're talking about Bryce Witt, number 1 quarterback in the CIAA, Jerome Johnson. He gets it done consistently with Bowie State. But, I mean, that Shawan offense, man, whoo, this is going to be tough. This is going to be a tough one to call, but give me, you got the number 1 offense in the CIAA, number 1 defense in the CIAA. I'm going to stick with the theme this weekend. I think defense wins championships, so I'm going to go with Bowie State.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to read it. I just happened to scan it. 51 points a game for Shawan.
Yeah.
33.2 for Bowie. 14.2 points defense Bowie and 20 for Shawan. But I guess the difference, I'm going to go with Bowie's been there before. I know, knowing some of those staff members personally when they was down here in Texas, and they have a little edge about them. And I think that should be the experience in being in a big game. Maybe will be the difference of them getting over Shawan.
Oh, I like that point about being in the big game, and they have a lot of folks that have been in and some players as well. It's been a little while because of the COVID-19 layoff, but point well made. With that, let's go to our break. We'll come back. We'll be in the 4th quarter. We'll go to the major division games, and we'll break those down for you and call it a day with that. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this last break. Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Ryan McGinty and Charles Bishop.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna love, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We have Ryan McGinty sitting in for Mike Washington as he is truly on assignment around the world. With that being said, we're going to take you into Big South territory as we talk about number 6 North Carolina State Aggies. A&T State Aggies are hosting North Alabama Historically White College. They're 0-5, 0-1 in the conference race. A&T is 2-2 overall, 1-0 in the conference race. Top 16. This Saturday, high noon, ESPN Plus, Greensboro, North Carolina, Truist Stadium. Ryan McGinty, what are your thoughts on terms of this matchup as our independent non-conference major division game of the week?
Well, I'm going with A&T. They got the A&T is the hot hand. They got the better rushing attack. They're scoring points. Northern Alabama's doing the opposite. They're struggling to score and they're struggling to stop. So A&T, should improve the 2-0 in Big South play. If I will not be wrong on this one. That's how confident I am. Even though Northern Alabama is historically has been a tough out, they're not going to get pushed over, but A&T is proven they can handle Big South competition going back to last few years in the MEAC. So A&T by far.
Yeah. He said it's not even close. I'm going to you, Charles, but before I do that, Brother Brian Gauthier, previous president of Alpha Eta Lambda, FAMU alumni, wants to let you know that there are haters out there in terms of his Marching 100. He just made sure that it be said. I was like, wow. With that, back to this matchup, North Alabama Lions. They are moving up, just about to transition. They become a full member, and they actually lead the Big South as they are going to the Sun Atlantic just to close that chapter, along with Kennesaw State. And you talk about those teams leaving out of the OVC, still giving us a question of what Tennessee State has done, because now you got Austin Peay, Eastern Kentucky, and Jacksonville State flying down south to the Atlantic Sun to get more sun, I guess. And you have 6 teams. There's thoughts about Murray State leaving, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I had to tease that out when you talk about these independents. This is about A&T, the Aggies, hosting the Lions of North Alabama. Charles, what do you say about this matchup?
Yeah, piggyback on what Ryan was saying, I think A&T's rushing attack is going to be too much for North Alabama. It's not the North Alabama that we traditionally have seen in the past. That was at Division II power. The whole transition thing has not been in their, I guess, best interest, for lack of better words. But I expect A&T to go out and dominate and do what they've been doing the past few seasons. That's continue to bludgeon teams with a powerful rushing attack, big offensive line that whoops you and wears you down by the fourth quarter.
Point well taken. With that, let's get back into the HBCU Classic, major division game of the week, and it features 2 SWAC teams. Texas Southern University and Southern University, Texas Southern 0-3, 0-1. They did get a win at homecoming. Does not necessarily show up in the overall record, according to some websites. With that being said, you have Southern Jaguars 2-2 overall, 1-0 in the conference race. As we talked a couple of weeks ago, they defeated Mississippi Valley State in Jackson for a classic game up there. This one is an Arlington football showdown, Globe Life Park, Arlington, Texas. Let me go with you, Charles, first in terms of this match. Fascinating and some things going on back and forth. So I want to see what your thoughts are here in terms of what's going on with this big-time matchup.
I can't figure this one out all the time because Southern, for whatever reason, they're in a malaise when they play Texas Southern. We've seen Texas Southern really hang with some really good Southern football teams the past few years. So I think those are the things that you kind of have to watch out and be wary of if you're a Southern Jaguar fan. I know undoubtedly, they can run the football. They have 3 guys that are literally in the 5, 6, and 7, I believe, in the SWAC and rushing. When you take a look at what they're able to do from an offensive standpoint, Glendon Bubba McDowell playing tremendous football. I expect Southern to win this football game, but I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I think Andrew Body gives Texas Southern a different dynamic. Keelan Davis is one of the better receivers in the SWAC. He's averaging 19.1 yards per catch. So I think Texas Southern can move the ball up and down the field a little bit, and that's a little bit of a concern if you're a Southern Jaguar fan because the defense has been a little bit of a concern.
Ryan, what are your thoughts? And give us some insight as you do, knowing a little more than maybe most about Texas Southern University, but you keep up with all the sports in many ways. What are your thoughts in terms of the overall shape of this game?
Well, this is going to be interesting. Well, Keelan Davis, frat, is channeling his inner Jerry Rice, which is another frat. And the way he's been playing, he's been putting up Jerry Rice type numbers. So he's going to be one on to watch an outside of the offense for TSU outside of quarterback. But one thing I've been reading and noticing this week, and y'all can probably help me out because I've tried to take this coach speak and focus on the opponent who we playing in front of us. Throw away the spring last year's spring game. Jaylen Brown, who started the season at TSU, he was thrown to the game against Southern, and it was a close game at half until Southern kind of wore TSU down with depth. But 2 years ago, when we was back at full strength, it came down to a fumble or interception on the last drive.
Yeah.
In the Dallas, but during that game, and people didn't realize Southern's a projected starter. I'm saying projected based on what the newspaper says. Is Glendon McDaniel, whatever makes you Bubba? They call him Bubba McDaniel, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He played against TSU 2 years ago. And it seems like for every reason, every time TSU and Southern play, something always happens to Skelton. Let's go back to 2018. Skelton had the big game the week before. He gets to play Texas Southern and Cotton Bowl. He gets hurt. The backup shows up then. Last year, something happened to Skelton in 2019. McDaniel came off the bench, threw for 252 yards and 3 touchdowns. And last year, Skelton pretty much played the whole game in the spring, got hurt. Then a guy named Lampley came off the bench and threw a touchdown. So it's kind of one of them deals. Good thing Texas Southern has film on this McDaniel guy if it's him against them and Skelton. It's gonna be an interesting game. I'm going with TSU. And I just think getting that monkey off their back, regardless of what the NCAA says, people don't understand. It's done a lot for the team confidence-wise this week. I don't know if you was at the event last night, Dr. Cavil, but they willed the volleyball team over to a 3-0 sweep also. So I'm now, the football team got all eyes on them. The internet is buzzing, and great band battle. And history says the game is going to be close, especially by being at a neutral site. We don't have to worry about anything else. So I'm looking forward to it. Wish it was televised, but it will not be. So let everyone know now. But it should be an interesting game. And I think the only thing Southern has coming into this game, factor-wise, they beaten TSU 10 straight times. Last win has not been since 2011.
Yeah.
So you know how that
Great
is.
point. Quickly, Charles, who you going in with the matchup? Ryan always told me, but I wouldn't have him pick it, but because he's up there. But what are your thoughts in terms of who you got coming out of this game? Texas Southern.
Yeah, I picked Southern to get the win in this, but like Ryan was saying, I think it's just going to be a close game. One of those games that you're going to be kind of checking your phone, kind of taking a look at the score on it. I believe it's going to be one of those type games. So I look for Southern to get the win, but I expect for things to not really shape themselves until the fourth quarter.
Interesting, and you know what happens if you make it close? Things can go in a little different direction. Be fascinating to see what happens in that matchup. That'll do it for us today. But before we come out of here, I did check out CBS Sports FCS ranking. They have 2 HBCUs in the top 25, both of them from the SWAC. At number 21, they have Jackson State, 3-1, who has changed a lot under Coach Prime. And you have at number 23, Prairie View A&M, 4-1. In terms of Jawan Pass, they call him the Puma on here. So just big ups to FCS in terms of CBS poll rankings, recognizing the SWAC for the programs they're doing. A couple other polls, you see them sneaking around in the top 25, but not in most of those. But we'll see what shakes out this weekend. Fascinating to see. That'll do it for us today. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports. With Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Sitting in for Mike Washington today is none other than Ryan McGinty, Texas Southern University Sports Information Director. Thanks for giving us that insight and your time. With that also being said, continue to check us out. We hope you enjoyed the interview as we just continue to get it done, as Ryan kind of gave us one of those interviews, if you would, in terms of breaking down that last segment there. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock right here. And on Sundays, as we do a wrap up at 9 o'clock a.m., get you up and going before you head out to church. We'll give you something to celebrate and get ready to go. And we look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's KENYATTACAVIL. That's DR. KENYATTACAVIL on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Inside HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Ryan?
Of course.
Charles?
Lecture.
Dismissed.